Now that we've talked about what a homepage should include, let's take a look at a homepage here that we are going to recreate and practice on. So first of all, this is one that is for Missy Maple, who is an artist. And to try to get attention to begin with, we do have a photo of the artist herself, and it's going to be an evocative photo, contemplative, kind of looks artistic, and so this is how we're trying to get attention. We have storytelling here as well as an introduction in this paragraph. So some of the storytelling: abandoned at 3 months old, Missy learned to channel her pain into exquisite artwork, and then telling a little bit about herself and what she believes as this intro. So what are her values, what's important to her, and it's challenging conventional ways of thinking, encouraging others to question the status quo. So we get to know a little bit more about her. Now, you may have noticed that we don't have a headline above her picture, and made the choice to have the headline below. Headlines can be above or below images, either's possible. And so with this, we have the headline, which is actually the title of her show, Artistic Disruptions. And so we have that here. And so with the unique selling proposition as well, we try to get that in this little intro piece. These couple paragraphs are trying to pack a lot of information in, so that she's trying to push the limits of art. So hopefully she's a different artist than what we expect. We have built some credibility here with a quote from an art magazine. Although if you look closely, I just kind of had fun with this quote. She is the artistic innovator we never knew we needed. Indeed, she is the artist we do not want. Yeah, so I just thought that was kind of funny. All right, then we have a call to action button to view the show. And so you can see on this we have a lot of information packed into a little bit of space. Hopefully people would be interested in seeing more of Missy's work after coming to this about page. Setting up a style guide in Figma. So it's going to look something like this. What we want to do first of all is to use the frame tool, and we want to choose desktop here, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to create rectangles, and the rectangles don't have to be a precise size. We basically just want them big enough that they'll work for our purposes. So I'm just going to go with like 275 is what I'm doing. And once I have a rectangle, I can then duplicate it, Command D, and I can duplicate it again and again and again. Now I have 5 rectangles here, and what I can do is to get them all, make sure that they are evenly spaced. So I'm going to do, so we could use one of these tools over here where we could do align the vertical centers. So let's just try that. And right now, although this one is, I may have made that one a little big, but you know what, let's just make it easy, because it doesn't matter if they're exactly in a straight line like this was over here. So I'm not going to worry so much about this, but I'm going to kind of mess this up because I want to show you the title of the tool, because if it's messier, it will actually work better when it wasn't messy enough before. So let's go here and do tidy up, and now it has them spaced with the same amount of space in between them. And I can go like that, and then I can just drag this one under there. Okay, so we got 4 rectangles. We're just going to leave them gray for the moment. We're going to go to Moodle, and we are going to copy a font here, go back to Figma, and we're going to do text tool, and I'm going to type that in. Okay. And now that we have this, we have the hex code here, which I just want to copy the hex code. And I am now going to select the rectangle, and I am going to fill in the rectangle with this particular color. So now it's the light lilac, and then I am going to want to make a style out of it. And so if you remember, we go to fill, we click on style, we click on plus, and then we would type in light lilac, and then we would create the style. Now I've already created my styles over here, so I'm not going to actually click that, but you would click the blue button for create style. And then we're going to repeat that with all of these other colors so that it will look like this. And that we have the colors all there. Okay, so if you want to pause the video for a moment to get that done, that would be great. And when you're ready, when yours look more like this, when you have all the rectangles colored in and all the hex codes and the names here, and you've created a style for all of them, then we'll start again. Now that we have that done, we are going to bring the fonts over. And so if we look over here, we have Keimer and Philippa fonts that we're going to be using. So let's copy those. Let's bring a text box and let's paste them in. Now I'm going to create two boxes. So here I'm going to duplicate this one because I want one for Keimer, one for Philippa. So get rid of Philippa there. I think I'm going to put font on that side, and I'm going to delete this. Now this is just the name of the font. They're not actually using the font yet in this text box, but that's what we're going to do next, is we are going to select the appropriate font. All right, so let's start out with the Keimer font, and let's go over to our text menu, and we're going to type in KHMER. There we go. Now it's the Keimer font. And what I want to do is next I want to create a text style. It works very similar to the color style. I'm going to come over to text, click on the four buttons for the style menu. I'm going to add, and I am going to call this body copy. And I have already created this text style, so I'm not going to actually click on create style, but you would click on create style to create that. Then I'm going to come over to Philippa, and the Philippa, now I just type in F-E, and I can see the Philippa there. Now I know this one's going to be a lot larger in the design we're going to work on, so I'm just going to go ahead and I think I'm going to take it to 100. There we go. So there's Philippa, and I'm going to create a text style here as well. And I'm going to name it, and I called this one Fancy Headline because I want to be able to know what it's for. If I just put in the name of it, it's not going to help me later. When it's a text style like this and I'm typing some other kind of text, I want to be able to look in my panel over here and see easily what I want. So fancy headline immediately lets me know that this is something big that I'm doing that's fancy. Body copy is what I'll use a lot of the time. And I have body copy like lilac color because we could make the font a color and make that as a part of a color style too. So these will help us later. We set all of these things up so when we're working on an entire wireframe that we have these options here easily available, so we don't have to reprogram every time. So every time I do a rectangle, I don't have to paste in a hex key. Every time I type in text, I don't have to select the font and the size. I can just go right to the text style and click on it. So, for instance, right now Philippa is in the Philippa font, my fancy headline, but if I clicked that, it would change. And if I didn't like that, I could detach that style and go back to, um, I can go back to fancy headline there. And there we go. So this is important that we set up a board before we start work on a wireframe because we can save ourselves a lot of time in the future. Now that we have our style guide set up, let us look at creating the About page. So we're going to go to Tools first of all and go to the Frame tool, and we're going to select the desktop, and I'm actually going to put it down here, and then I can see it now. Remember, we're, oh, wait, before we go down there, let me remind you, if you haven't done it already, you should go ahead and name your frame up here, your style guide, so that it's easy to see in the layers, you know what it is, and you could even make this smaller. We might come back here and put more style stuff in here maybe, so, but we can always change the size of our frame. All right, so I'm going to just put it down here, make it easy, and my desktop frame is here. This is what what we are going to be recreating, and so I know that my frame isn't long enough right now, and so I am going to drag it down. So getting to, oh, you know what, I am going to do it a different way because I was changing the width there, which I don't really want. Let's just let us change it using the commands over here so that we're going to get it more to how long we want the board. So we'll just change it from the height here. It's a little slower, but I also am going to be sure I'm not changing the width proportion, and so we'll just do this. Almost there, almost there. So close. And again, we can adjust it at any point during our process if it needs to be larger or smaller. Let's name this as well. We just click in it and we're going to call this About, and here I'm going to use lowercase, About page example. And when you're doing it, you should put your name here so I can easily tell whose this is when I'm looking at it. Okay, so there we got that set up. First thing we know, or you might not know this, but I do, is that the background of this frame is this color, which if we look up here is dark lilac. So let us go over to our artboard and let us choose the dark lilac. We're going to actually get rid of the white, and we're going to, we want to add a fill here. Oops, but we're not going to click plus because plus will just make it white again. If we click the 4 dots, we can then choose from our color style. Great. Next thing I'm going to do is I am going to draw a rectangle. Get the rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. It's going to be the length of our About page here. It doesn't have to be a precise size exactly, but it's going to be like a menu bar. Make it look like a menu bar. All right, and I do not want it to be this gray. What I would like it to be would be the light lilac here. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Then I'm going to need the logo, and if you go to Moodle, you will see that I have the 3 images that you will need for this page here. So if you download those, then you will have that. Now for the logo, I am going to, first of all, create a rectangle, and I am going to click on the fill, and I'm going to choose image, and then I am going to upload the PNG, which I think it's here. Let me see, here we go, the logo, and there, we got the logo right there. Perfect. Now we're going to need some text boxes, and I can always change the size of this if I want to. I'm not doing it proportionately there, so remember, if we want to be proportionate, we'd go up to the right side menu and choose constrain proportions, and then if I've done that, then I've done constrain proportions. When it's locked, then it will, as long as I'm using these commands up here, it will help it to proportionately change its size. Okay, so that looks good. I want to set up are my menu buttons, but if you notice, the menu buttons are white and larger than the text styles I have set up here, so I need to set up another new text style that will be the correct style for my menu buttons. And this will come in handy because when you're creating a whole wireframe for a website, you don't want to have to, on every single web page, go through the same work to set this up. If we just set it up once and then select the style, then that's great. Now I want to see what my home text looks like against a light lilac background, so I've duplicated Command D this rectangle, and I am simply going to drag it over here. And now I'm going to get my text tool, and I am going to type home, and I want to get this to be the correct size. So right now it's too small, so I'm going to select it. Oh, and also I want it to be the correct font, so I'm going to select Keimer, and now I'm going to change the size over here so that it will be about the right size. So let's see, at 52, what do we think? That looks about the right size, maybe. Maybe I'm going to go down to, maybe I'll just say 50. Give it a nice round size there. Then I'm going to just put it up a little more there. Good. And so now I I like that. And I want to now fix the color, because right now it is what I like to call the lack of a color. Right now it is this FFFFF, which means there's no color in it at all. But we want it to have a color. So I'm going to get rid of this fill. So I'm going to click the minus sign, and then I am going to click on the 4 buttons, and I am going to choose soft white, which is what I want. And soft white does, you can see here, it does have a slight color to it, and it's much more pleasing to the eye to have a basic color. It's a very light one, but there it is. Okay, now if we like this, we can make a text style out of it. So remember, I go over here, style, add, and here I would say menu text, and create that style. Then duplicate it there, and I can bring it right down to here. And at this point I could also do another duplicate, bring it over, and now just type in about. Then we can do, let's click off it for a moment, there we go. I can do another one and click portfolio, and It's not behaving with my little trick of double clicking, so I'm going to just manually make it the right size. And now I'm going to move these over a little bit. Let's do another Command D, duplicate, bring it over, and let's call it show. Now with all of these, I'm going to select them, and I can select them in the menu panel. Might be the easiest one right here. Select. I've just selected one, then hit shift and selected the other ones. And let's line all of these up. Let's line up the tops. No, actually, let's line up the bottoms of this. Okay, that didn't work well. Portfolio is that one where I change the box shape, and obviously it was not the best choice. Let's see if now it will work. Okay, now it's worked that they're all correct. And I'm just going to move them down just a tiny bit, and I can do the tidy up so they are distributed better. Now I'm just going to shift them a bit to the left. Okay, so there we have our menu bar. What we're going to do next is we are going to create two of these light lilac boxes down here. So let's grab that rectangle tool, and let's do it. Doesn't have to be precise, but that looks good enough. And let's choose the light lilac, and then all we have to do is duplicate it, Command D, and we'll drag it down here. Great. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on this, and here I want to bring in a little bit of a lesson for you, and just let you know that we have to really think about how much people are going to see on their monitor when they're looking at your website. And we have to think about the resolution that monitors are, and we want to design a focal space that will fit on most everyone's monitors. And to do this, I am going to go to a new site here, and it is www.w3schools.com. All right, so we're going to go over here, and we are actually going to even more than just go there. We are going to do a slash, and I'm going to click in browsers, and this is going to take me to some display statistics in which I can see what the resolution display is for most people. So in January 2021, most people are going to be seeing a resolution of 1366 by 768 or better. So 25% see this resolution, 20% see this resolution, and 41% are even see a higher resolution. Once I get down to the 1280 by 1024, there are very few people who have monitors with such low resolution. So I am very safe with designing the focal point at 1366 by 768. And I'm going to just copy that right there. And so this means that when I go here, I am creating this centerpiece to be that resolution, that it's going to be that long, that high, that many pixels. And there's going to be negative space here because there are people with those smaller computers where this will take up the entire screen, the 13, that would be the 1366 by 768. Their computer will only go this wide. And so I want my focal image to be full space, fully shown. But other people, they'll, if they have a better resolution, higher resolution, they will see these sides. That's okay. But I want to build a, oh, I copy pasted that particular resolution because I have a hard time remembering these numbers. So 1366 by 768, I'm going to put it there. Now I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and I am going to draw a box, and what I want it to be is 1366 by 768. So I can get kind of close to it, and then I can always fix it in here. Where we go, 1366 by 768. There we go. So this is a size box that people will actually be seeing. And I can see that I need to put these down lower. Now I can design in a space that's smaller than that. We just want to make sure that our focal image is in there. And I'm going to turn this a color that I don't normally use, and I am just going to get, let's say, a pink. This will not be seen on the website. I'm simply putting it here as a guide to show me where I need to make sure my primary information is. And yeah, so like if I took it over here, then I could see, yeah, that I could understand that everything I have here would be seen. So that's what I need to know. So let me put it back over here. And I'm going to, with this particular one, I'm going to give it a name as, let's see, screen. No, maybe I'll do that 1366 by 768. I'm going to call it that way. There are going to be times when I'm designing and I'm going to turn it off because it won't be in the final design. It's just a guide to help me. Okay, so I have that rectangle. Now I want to also get a smaller rectangle. Let's go here. Let's go with that. And I want this fill to be the soft gray. So we go here and we're going to pick the soft gray. Okay, now I want to bring another rectangle in. This will be where we put the picture of Missy Maple. So I'm just going to drag it out to about the size. I think it's going to be a little too big there. Okay, we'll go with that for now. And if you remember, for an image, we're going to go to fill, but instead of solid, we are going to go to image. And we're going to choose the image, and this image is in Moodle, so you can download it from Moodle. I'm going to put it in there, and once it's here, I can, let's just say I want to have that there, and let's say I want it to fit. So we could go like that, or if I wanted to crop it, I could crop it. Okay, so there we go. Just going to go like that, and I'll move this over a little bit. I might end up making it a little bit higher. I think I made that box just slightly too small because I don't really want to see the rectangle behind it. All right, and let's see. Right now that is 534 high, and this is 530. So I'm going to make this 530 as well. Get it exact. And then I can choose both of those, the rectangle and the photo, and I can align them. I'll align the tops, just make sure that they are actually aligned. I can also align the left-hand side. And there we go. Next thing I need is a text box. I'm going to put the text box here. And we are going to go to Moodle, and you can see that here we have the text ready to paste in here. And obviously it is much too large here, so we are going to want it to be Keimer, the Keimer font. So let's see. Right now it's set to the menu up here, which we don't want. So I'm going to break that, and we're going to make this, let's see how it looks with the body copy font here. That's better, but it still needs to be smaller. That's too big. So I'm going to break that change, and we're going to stay with Keimer. But let's see if we can figure out how big does this need to be. Get it to 20. And here, one of the things I might do is I might decide to make this, I might crop it, make it smaller. So let's say I want to crop. I might do a little cropping here. Okay. And that way I can make this text box fit better. And if I do that, I can actually up the size just a little bit. Here we go, better. Now, I also need to think though, I want to have these line breaks. We talked about that this is important to have the line breaks. It helps people to read. And now that I've done this, I might have to go back. I do have to go back and make the font a little bit smaller, although also I could probably bring this a little bit more out there. Okay, but let's get all this font selected, and let's go back to 20 and see how that works. That's working better. And little repositioning there. I could also make that picture even smaller to make it work. All right, so we got some stuff done there, and the next thing we'd be working on would be bringing in these other elements. And I won't keep giving you the whole tutorial for bringing in uh, the quote is in Moodle as well. It's here, and you're going to use Figma font with it, but I'll let you do that on your own. Let's talk about, though, this artistic disruptions right here. And for the artistic disruptions, we are going to bring in a text box. Come on, text. And on this one, I do not want it to be the Keimer. I want to apply my headline style to it. So we have artistic. I used a slightly different font than what I did in that one. And if I look at this and I think that it's not quite large enough, I could unhook it from this, I could unlink it from this, and I could choose the Figma font and just make it bigger. That would be a fine choice. And then get another text box and say disruptions. And on this one, I want it, I don't want it to be that, I want it to be the Keimer. Probably needs to be a bit smaller than 100, so let's get it down to about there. And I want it to have a fill. It's going to be that dark, whoops, it's going to be the dark purple, so we're going to go to the 4 dots. And actually is it the dark purple? Maybe it is. Let's give that a go. Yeah, I think so. And then we just have to move them together. And the size, yeah, I'm not sure the size is really right here, because over here it fits all under the artistic, so I probably would want to get it a bit smaller than that so it fits. Okay, I think we're better there. All right,